Hi, this is Orange County Executive Steve Neuhaus. Welcome to NeuCAST, our podcast, where we interview interesting people in our community that have impacts on our lives or have some great contributions to maybe starting a business or how you're doing at home or anything. So this month, September, I have my friend Heather Howley, who runs Independent Helicopters. She is a helicopter pilot. She is completely awesome. We totally love her. And Heather, I am so pumped to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
And literally, I'm so excited because we're friends. I've flown as a passenger with you a number of times, including just a few weeks ago at the air show. Mm-hmm. I had 3 of my kids in the back. One of them, actually with my daughter, sat alongside you. And I want to talk about a whole bunch of things, including being a woman in business. You've built this beautiful facility here in New Windsor. And obviously a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. A few months ago, you and I talked about. So how did you get into being a helicopter pilot? How did that happen? Like when you were a kid, did you love aviation or what happened?
No, everyone always thinks that. They're like, oh, you must have been like 5 years old when you really loved helicopters, or oh, did you do military? And neither, actually. I went for one flight, and prior to that, I had traveled Europe for a little bit and really enjoyed traveling, and hence the name Independent Helicopters. I am a very independent person. I was like, I can fly myself around. Why am I paying to do this? And just happened to go for a helicopter ride first, and it was love at first flight is what I like to say.
Really?
Yeah.
So literally, were you as a passenger to go sightseeing, or did you like, maybe I want to be a pilot, I'm going to pay for a ride, and if I like it, I'll do the lessons? So
the helicopter was actually, they had a free seminar that you could go to become a student, and they, at the end of it, they're like, oh, if you'd like to go for a free helicopter ride. And at the time, I was like, free's for me, I have no money, great. Yeah. So I did, I went for that free helicopter ride, and I was instantly hooked. Yeah, I was like, take all my money, how do I do this? I love it.
So we have a great crew here that's on the other side of the camera, and we always chit-chat before we started, like we chit-chat with you today. And one of the guys that we interviewed at a prior podcast said he came here with like just a shirt on his back with his wife from down south, and they started this business that's doing successful now. You started with $25, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit how that is, and maybe I want to definitely get into being a woman in in the business world. You've been highly successful. You have a number of employees. You've been doing this for 10 years. So tell us about how you started with $25 and a dream.
So there was a school that was here that ended up going bankrupt and left a sour taste, I think, in a lot of people's mouths. And I had taught a lot of those students that were from the bankrupt school. So when they went bankrupt, I worked for another company, and I said to them, hey, I'd really love to partner with you and help these students from the bankrupt school. How do I do that? And they said, well, give us your resignation letter, and you start your own business, and then we'll be partners, and you can kind of help us, grow that side. I said, great. $25 is what it cost to do my DBA. So I spent that money and reached out to the one helicopter that was already based here at Stewart from the bankrupt school and ended up leasing it. And as soon as I did that and sent them my resignation letter, I never heard from that company again. So it was me and one of these little baby helicopters behind me, the R-22s. And
you still have the helicopter?
I do, yeah. It's not this one behind us, it's the one actually behind that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was my 159, it was my very first one.
Wow.
And so I leased it, and that company went away, obviously, and it was like, well, sink or swim at this point. So I decided to swim really freaking hard.
So it's been like over 10 years now, right?
14 years.
14 years.
On the 15th, actually, yeah.
And you have another operation in Saratoga.
I do, yeah.
Have you had, everybody has ups and downs. Have you had some critical ups and downs where like, I'm not going to make it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so really in the first 2, maybe 3 years of business, I almost lost it several times.
Sleepless nights?
That's always, even still now.
Yeah.
This kind of business is, it's a lot of risk, it's a lot of liability, and a lot of stress. You have a lot of people that are taking your helicopters out by themselves because they have to. You've got instructors that you're teaching to then do all these other things. But it can be difficult, it can be stressful, but I love it.
How'd you get through it? I know you're a very independent spirit. Like me, I'm kind of like that too, and I need my alone time, and when I'm stressed, I like to be out. My staff will tell me to go fishing or go running on a heritage trail. Is that what you do? You get by yourself, or do you like bring in like your war room and say, look, we got a problem, what are we doing here to fix it?
It's a little bit of both. So when it gets really bad, or like if I'm going through it for a long amount of time, when I built this hangar, it was really, really difficult. And so I would run every morning, I would walk every evening, so I needed to be physically active to get that kind of out. But I do have Matt, who works for me. He's like, I call him my work husband. Yeah. If I didn't have him, I don't know if I could have made it through a lot of the stuff that we've gone through in the last, I'd say 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, because I've had him, this year actually is 10 years that he's been working for me.
Wow. So you're a woman in mostly male-dominated, definitely in this industry.
Yeah.
how have you seen barriers? Have you seen like, oh God, here's this chick, she has no idea what she's doing, or have most of the industry been welcoming to a young woman trying to break into the industry?
I have so many stories.
Good and bad.
It's been both. Honestly, there are some people out there that are really super supportive, and the way I look at the positive side of it is I'm making an impact, and I'm a role model for like your daughter, right?
Yeah.
She sat up front with me, and so it's nice to have representation and to have other girls or even children see that, oh, a woman can be doing it. But then I've also had the flip side of it where people have, I'll give you an example. I went to this big helicopter convention and I said, hey, I was talking to the Bell helicopter rep and I said, I want to buy a Bell helicopter. That's my next plan of action, and this is what I want to do with it, da, da, da. And the guy literally looked me up and down and turned around.
Oh God.
Didn't even talk to me, and I was like, whoa, like I haven't
It's
had
like
that.
a car dealership type of, some people
Yeah.
you said examples in the past of the same type of situation.
Yeah, but I had not experienced that for a while because a lot of the people in my life have been very supportive, and I only keep those people around me. So to have someone like that, where here I'm trying to offer you $1 million, right, and you're like, meh, I'm going to turn my back to you because, and I assume it was because I was a woman or because I was young or whatever. He didn't believe whoever I was, so yeah.
So how have you overcome that? Do you just go to the next guy, be like, this guy blew me off? Yeah, okay.
Pretty much, yeah. It's funny, a lot of women, I think, take it very personally, and I find if you do that, you're never going to succeed, right? You can't necessarily take it personally. You have to just move on to the next thing. If what you want is that important to you, then why does it matter what anybody thinks?
So it's been 14 years now. Do you see that sexism, or whatever you want to call it, getting diminished more and more? Are you seeing a better atmosphere now than it was 14 years ago?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. I think for myself personally, I've developed a reputation, so I need a lot of respect. Like my personality comes into the room, and I think I get the respect that I need. But I do find that some of the younger women that are coming up are still experiencing some of the same things.
I was just going to, that's my next question was going to be like, so the new Heather of today that's starting off on her own is going to probably see some obstacles.
And strangely enough, we're getting it from other women.
Okay,
Yeah,
wow.
so it's not just men.
That's
Yeah.
interesting too.
Yeah.
Say, look, I broke this barrier myself, now, go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've had these ups and downs. You said the first couple of years were very challenging. What stopped you from giving up?
Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, so there's this feeling that I get when I fly, right? It is this ultimate freedom feeling, and it cannot be replaced by anything else, and it's where I find my zen.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's probably what keeps me going is the love of flying. Don't take me out of the air. Like, you can do whatever you want. As long as I have the ability to come off of the ground, I think that's what keeps me going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're getting married next August. I met your fiance a couple times with you.
Mm-hmm.
How is it dating? Are you guys jumping in a helicopter and landing at a restaurant? Or do you go to McDonald's, you go to the waterfront in Newburgh or whatever?
So I have really high standards. This poor man. So he had, the bar was set very high for him initially, and my deal was you kind of have to be a pilot in order to get into my world. And he did. He became a helicopter pilot.
Oh, so he became a helicopter pilot after you started dating?
No, before,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
So that was
that's
the
what I
deal.
remembered.
So
Okay.
I had 3 rules, right? You couldn't be a
You're
student.
making me laugh. I'm like crying here. I'm so...
You couldn't be a student. I didn't want you to have kids, whatever. And honestly, he really wasn't my type when we first started dating. But
That's how it always is, right?
I told him, I said, you have to finish your rating because I don't date students. So he finished, and then, it's good. It's really good.
Do you guys do these like weird little trips
Oh yeah,
together?
totally.
You
Yeah,
know? Yeah. So that's gotta
for
be
his
cool.
for his birthday and his son's birthday, I was like, let's go to the vineyard for lunch. So that's what we did. We literally both got in the helicopter. All 3 of us got in the helicopter. We flew out, had lunch in the vineyard, took back some lobsters, and that was the birthday.
How long a ride is going to the vineyard?
It's an hour and 45 minutes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's not bad. Normally when you drive, it's like 4 hours plus a 2-hour ferry or whatever it is. Yeah.
And you see all sorts of cool stuff, coastline,
It's
sea,
beautiful.
all that. Oh,
It's
that's
beautiful,
wonderful.
yeah.
That's great. So one of the perks of being a business owner and a pilot is to do
whatever
these
you
great
want.
little excursions. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You do a lot for charity, veterans, cancer.
Yeah.
Those 2 causes. Why are those your babies or some of your babies?
I actually have a 3rd one too. So
Okay.
my late husband, I started a charity for him, and so that one is aviation related. So it's kind of my way to keep his memory alive. The veterans, my father's a veteran, and we actually have trained a lot of veterans, and I hire veterans, so that's a
Great.
big one for me. And then the cancer one, I mean, cancer's prevalent, I think, in everyone's lives.
Yeah.
So family members, et cetera, and I don't think it's ever going to go away. So why not? Yeah. There's so many different kinds though, so I try and be specific on what ones I support.
You're active with a lot of other groups. You are also been recognized as a rising star. Do you get pulled in or pimped out a lot? Like, hey, we need to bring Heather in to get this crowd going. We need to give these young men or women. I say it all the time. You know me, I'm completely inappropriate.
Yeah, I love it.
Talking if we could curse on the podcast,
Yeah.
which we could if we want to.
Yeah.
But do you get brought in a lot to talk to try to motivate people or give people
I've
this
done a
type
lot
of inspiration?
Not a lot of adults, funny enough,
Okay.
but a lot of younger groups, whether they're high school, middle school, college kids. But we go out and I talk to those people a lot.
And I think that young adults and young men and women are more, they've always said, are more moldable than a person like me that's now in their late 40s. My daughter loves flying with you, and I have great pictures at the air show. We all jumped in and we bought tickets, and thankfully we got in your helicopter with you. My daughter had a great smile on her face. One of the performers at this year's air show was a female fighter pilot. We talked about her struggles, and next year we're hoping to get the Blue Angels. I think we're going to be announcing them at the end of this year. And this year the Blue Angels announced that they had their first female pilot flying, which to me was shocking still.
Yeah.
In 2022, you would just be like, you have 7 pilots or 5 at a minimum, and now all of a sudden you have the first female pilot. So does that show you that we still have a long, long way to go?
I don't know about a long way to go, but yeah, we still have some room to grow, for sure. Yeah.
What type of things would you tell a 10-year-old or 18-year-old or 25-year-old or 30-year-old woman or even man right now that's listening and saying, I'd like to get into business, I'd like to be a pilot, I'd like to do this, and it's an industry where it's not really accommodating to me? What? Just don't quit, like the simple.
Yeah, literally. Like, I was literally going to say, who cares? Like, the biggest thing that I think I've learned over all of these years is not to give a crap about what other people think.
Yeah.
Just if you want it bad enough, make it happen.
Yeah. That's like the mantra I have. Like when I ran for county executive years ago, like 9 years ago or 10 years ago, everybody that was running like, you're too young. Wait till you have gray hair. Come back in 10 years. Why don't you come work for me for a little bit, or why don't you go get some experience to come out? And I decided to run, and everybody backed me, and we ended up beating every one of them and winning. But I remember having those days, like, maybe I should take another job, or should we back out? I'm like, nah, that's not an option. We're going forward with this. But everybody that has struggled has just not given up. And that's a simple thing like that. But it's hard to do. It
is, yeah. But it's important who you surround yourself with.
Okay.
If you're surrounding yourself with these people who are negative or don't support you, get rid of them. Like, it sounds very callous, but like, even if it's your own family, like, get rid of them. Only surround yourself with the people that are going to support you. And if that's nobody, I mean, sometimes this road is very lonely, and you just keep your head down and keep going.
So I'm going to touch on a couple more things because I think you learn the most from suffering or from struggles.
Pain
right?
is a powerful teacher.
So you're starting the business up. The first couple of years are rough. You said you're independent. I'm independent. You like to get your mind cleared by running, walking, whatever. But is there men or women, mom, dad, friends, husband, girlfriends, sisters that really pushed you when you were like, I'm ready to throw the towel in? Or is it really you that kept this thing? In
the very beginning, no, I had my family, but I've gotten mixed reviews from them. So I wouldn't say that I went to them saying, hey, I need your support, I need you to pump me up kind of thing. I did hire a business coach in 2013, I think it was, I hired her. It was early 2013, and she's been with me ever since. And she has been the one person that has...
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I've never heard about that. So it was 2013 a tough time?
No, not really.
You were doing relatively okay?
Yeah, I didn't know that I needed her. When we met, I was just having a conversation like, hey, so-and-so told me to call you, and so I'm calling you. And she goes, great, this is what you need to do. I said, I didn't think, what? And so I hired her for the first 6 months, and I was going to fire her, and that's when my husband died. And she was one of the top 3 to 5 people that I called in the beginning, and without her help, I wouldn't have made it through that.
See, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
And when you say after 6 months you were going to fire her because you thought you were on your feet and you didn't need her anymore.
Yeah,
not that you weren't happy, just that you didn't need her anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if it's not that I didn't see the value necessarily, because there wasn't real change, real progress, and how could there be in 6 months? 6 months is a short amount of time, but it was really when my husband died that, and since his death, I've tripled the business, and I count a lot of that to her.
So a business coach is somebody that you meet periodically with, tell them what your plans are, where you are now, and where you're looking to go, and they tell you what you should or shouldn't do, or give you some advice on it?
It was more a
much.
mindset shift for me with her.
Okay.
Yeah. I would throw ideas past her, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. We'd run through the pros and cons. Like, the building was a really big thing to deal with
Yeah.
her. And she always set my goals higher and higher than I probably could have set them myself.
What type of things would you do differently if you could right now? Hindsight. If you could go back to that, Heather, whether it was 14 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, what type of things coulda, shoulda, woulda?
Honestly, I don't know if I would change much.
Because even I know you had a tough time when you were building this. Everybody, and I know, and even me, we just did a new government center a few years ago, and you know, you're renovating and you're building new, and if you're building a new project, something comes up at it, and they always say the last 10% is the biggest headache. You just have to learn through that.
Yeah, I think that without that lesson, without that pain, we said as a powerful teacher, I think without those trials and tribulations, I wouldn't be where I am. So I wouldn't change any of it because I like those lessons that I got, although very painful and costly, et cetera, I wouldn't change any of it. Yeah.
So what, your background, is it the education you've had that helped you the most? Men or women, somebody that stands out that has helped mold you as a person you are, maybe a lot of influences. Is there anything that sticks out to you that really made you who you are?
So I'm going to go with my childhood, honestly.
Okay.
So I'm the oldest of 4 children.
Wow.
And both my parents worked, so I basically raised my younger siblings.
Okay.
And I was like the big helper. I was really a great kid until I hit about 17. And then I was like, all of you, I'm out. And
Okay.
I left. I moved to California. And so I would say my childhood because it really forced me to, take the reins and take the responsibility. And it was okay to have to constrict in order to expand.
When you you're a business owner, the biggest thing out there is people knowing if you're in business or knowing what you do. And like even me, when I first met you, like a helicopter, I'm like, okay. And now I've flown with you. I refer people that want to come to Orange County, that want to build here, to hire you so they can get a bird's eye view of what they're looking at. Getting your word out on what you do and all the different types it's not just joy rides. It could be for business. It could also be picking somebody up at another airport to make it more convenient. Is it all just word of mouth at the end of the day, or has advertising and all that stuff a marriage of both?
That is the hardest thing for us because our market is so vast. We do so many different things. We not only do flight instruction, but we do the charter stuff. We do tours, we do rides, we've done proposals, we've done helicopter paintball, all kinds of craziness, and we work for Central Hudson as well. And I literally, where were we? We were somewhere recently, and I think I was even on a plane talking to some random stranger. She's like, oh yeah, I'm from this area. And I was like, oh yeah, like I own a helicopter business. She's like, what? I'm like, see, this is my problem. I've been in business for 14 years and there are still people who don't know that we're here. And I was telling Amanda Dana from tourism, I said, every great tourist destination has helicopter rides. We are an amazing tourist destination and we have helicopter rides, but nobody knows that I exist. Yeah. And I don't know how to do it. So it is mostly word of mouth because most of the advertising that I've done has not been successful, and it costs a lot of money to advertise.
Yeah.
And I don't have a huge advertising budget, nor do I want to have one.
Now I love you, and I've flown with you, and it's been at random times. So I know it's a Warwick. They're not Warwick, New Windsor. Their big activity day. They're out to
Community Day.
Yeah, Community Day. Mm-hmm. I was there with the district attorney and the county clerk. I'm like, they're giving helicopter rides. They're like $50 or $100, whatever. Mm-hmm. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. They're like, some of them never flown helicopters before, so we just randomly did it. At the air show, I'm seeing your helicopters go like back and forth, like it was like a beehive. Yeah. And the crowd is doing that. I mean, I think that's a great. Even though it's you didn't wake up that day and say, I'm gonna let's plan a helicopter ride. That impromptu has been very successful, right?
Yeah, honestly. So we do a lot of charity events where I'll go in and I'll do helicopter rides at the event, which has been awesome. And of course, charity is always my go-to. And then events. So obviously, Community Day, the air show. We used to do food truck festivals and wine and beer or whatever festivals, and just to get the name out there so people could see us. And even at those events, which is crazy to me, people would be like, "Oh yeah, there's a helicopter," but they wouldn't put 2 and 2 together. Oh, I could go for a ride.
I like the fact that at the air show, they advertise it. And I mean, it looked busy when I was there. I see you guys going up and down. So I know if you're going up and down, you got customers.
Yeah.
I think it's a great model, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's nice. It's a way for me to kind of share my passion for what I do because I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, Heather, thank you is there anything else that we need to put out that we should? I mean, I know you've married also with Second Aviation.
Yeah, I love those
You guys
guys.
do something every year there for like kids to
We
get
used
them?
to. I haven't done it since we moved into
COVID?
this. Well, yeah, pretty much since COVID. But since we moved into this building, which was in COVID, we haven't been down there.
And they have a new commander now. He just took over a couple months ago.
Yeah,
So
Ken, I believe his name
yeah.
is. Yeah.
So what did you do there? It was like you would bring students in to like welcome them to the world of aviation?
So we do a summer camp
Okay.
every year, and so we've done it now 2 or 3 years now in a row. And so I bring the kids down there to do summer camp. They get to try on all the gear and pretend they're like a military pilot. And they sit in the airplane in the helicopter. They try on night vision goggles, and then we do some other stuff with them in an airplane and the helicopter. But those guys are great. We've done 5Ks down there with them. We did disabled American veterans down there with them. A car show. Yeah, they're awesome.
Well,
guys.
now that things are opening up, I think you're going to have great opportunities. And plus, with the new, like you said, the new chief warrant officer in charge there is a great guy.
Yeah.
So that's great. Well, Heather, thank you for giving us some words. We appreciate you. We
Thank you.
appreciate what you give to the community. And this story is inspiring to young people who want to get into business, in particular young women, that may not think that aviation or helicopter pilots is one of their choices.
Yeah.
So this is great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening, folks. We'll be back again next month with another great guest like Heather that'll be bringing something inspiring to your business or your household. So thank you.